Thousands of illegal immigrants are still flooding our southern border. This as Title 42 is expected to end in less than 2 weeks. Our border correspondent Jason Jones is in Austin, Texas with the latest. Jason.
Tom, good afternoon. It's good to be with you. All last week we were embedded with the men and women of the Texas Department of Public Safety at ground zero in El Paso and in the Big Bend sector to try to show as people are coming from all over the world. And then on one incident, we had just apprehended 12 individuals illegally in the country. And then over the radio, we heard that there was a migrant in distress. But when we got there, things changed. Take a look at what we found.
This guy, and he told me like, hey, yo, let's go to San Angelo. And then when we came down there, he just come and picked up 2 guys. And I was like, come on, bro, I can't do this. I sheriff stopped him, and I was like, what the I'm gonna do? And he was like, run, run. And then I'll be walking without food, without water, you know, just praying to God.
For 4 days?
Yeah.
Where'd you get that from?
That was my bottle, bro. I had to drink my own pee.
And Tom, what had really happened there is that individual, and this is the stunning part of what's taking place out there, that individual that we started to conduct a rescue on turned out was an illegal immigrant himself from Honduras, living in Houston, Texas for the last year and a half or so, and had traveled with another illegal alien to pick up people who had entered the country illegally. They were involved in a pursuit with law enforcement, then a bailout, then he ran into the desert and had been there for 4 days. And it's an example of what law enforcement is going through out there along the southwest border. I have to tell you, things have really changed. You know, 1 minute you're apprehending people, the next minute you're going to conduct a rescue to find out that it's a smuggler, but it's what's taking place on that border. And Tom, get ready. We have exclusive video from all week long that I have to tell you is truly incredible. The amount of stash houses and young children that we saw that were being extorted and their families being extorted by these smugglers, get ready. We're going to be exposing that all week long.
Jason, thank you so much. You have done absolutely extraordinary work there on the border for us and for our audience, exposing a lot of what's been going on there, and many of the other outlets. Many of the other so-called news outlets don't want to cover it. They do not want to see what is a humanitarian crisis and an invasion that's unfolding down there. And thank you very much for everything that you do.
Tom, I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you very much.
Why go to a border state and not visit the border?
Because there's more important thing going on. They're going to invest billions of dollars in a new enterprise.
That was President Joe Biden this week getting ready to head down to Arizona, but dismissing a reporter's question about why he wasn't going down to the border. As the year comes to a close, the border invasion continues unabated. You just saw that from Jason Jones, and it is claiming more lives. This week, United States Border Patrol agent Raul Humberto Gonzalez Jr. was killed in an ATV crash while chasing a group of illegals crossing the border near Mission, Texas. To discuss the crisis and how it has evolved in 2022, we are joined by the Vice President of the National Border Patrol Council, Chris Cabrera. Chris, thank you very much for being here. We are so sorry for your loss. The number of agents who have been killed and injured, the number of illegals who have died at the border this year is north of 1,000. How does it make you feel when the President of the United States dismisses the crisis at the border the way that he did so flippantly this week?
Well, you know, unfortunately, it's par for the course. I didn't expect anything else out of him. He claims to care about folks down here, whether it's the local community or the people crossing, but he's done nothing to show that he actually cares other than anything other than his political future.
Chris, let's talk about the numbers. We're coming to the end of 2022. What have we dealt with in terms of encounters, arrests, and gotaways?
You know, the encounters we're seeing months on end that are over 200,000. I think there was one that was, approaching 300,000. And if you look back 2 or 3 years, the monthly apprehensions were about 20,000. So the numbers have increased dramatically, and that's with Title 42 in place. Once Title 42 goes away, though, those numbers are going to shoot up. Right now, we have people turning themselves in. We have people trying to avoid detection. We have drugs coming across, and there's no end in sight. And unfortunately, they're going to remove Title 42 without a mechanism in place to stem the flow of people coming in. So we haven't seen a high water mark yet.
So it's about 2 million, from what I understand. Then you've got you've got tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands more, that we just don't know about. I mean, and the Border Patrol can really only do so much. And you mentioned Title 42. From an operational standpoint, explain to our audience what ending Title 42 will mean.
Well, what's going to happen is right now, with people, they come in and they make a claim for asylum. They go back to Mexico and they wait the adjudication of their claim. Now, once Title 42 ends, we'll just release them into the country. There's nowhere to house them, so we'll release them pending a court date, and those court dates are anywhere from a year to 5 years down the road.
And I would think that so far, there have been issues with them showing back up to court to begin with, right?
Yeah, most aren't going to show up to court. The ones that do will show up until the final disposition, and after the right before the final disposition, that's when they'll disappear. So most people know it's a big game. They know how to game the system. We've done nothing to dissuade people from gaming the system, so people are going to continue until the gravy train stops.
Then, of course, there's the issue of fentanyl. You mentioned it, the amount of drugs intercepted and getting through. What can you tell us there about what 2022 has meant in terms of the flow of fentanyl and other drugs across the border?
Well, all across the border, the numbers have gotten higher, and that's just what we catch. There's so much out there that we know that we don't catch. I think last week or the week before, about 100 miles north of the border, they caught 5.6 million doses of fentanyl, and that was already past us. They happened to get it on a traffic stop. So there's multiple drug loads coming in daily. Unfortunately, we don't have the manpower to deal with those coming in, those turning themselves in, those avoided detections, people that are running from us, the gotaways, and then on top of that, the drugs. We don't have the manpower to handle it. The cartels know this. That's why they're throwing these large groups at us the way they are.
And of course, in 2021, over 100,000 people died from fentanyl overdoses. And if you're doing the math, that's about the size of a jumbo jet. The number of people dying every single day, and the president continues to refuse to talk about it. All right, Chris, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. Republicans are taking back control of the House of Representatives. Democrats have a complicated but functional majority in the Senate. What do you want to see this Congress do to help address this crisis? What's your message to them?
Well, I think the only thing that can be done is a legislative change. There needs to be something. These folks need to get serious. They need to put their partisan hats away, and they need to fix this problem for what it is. And instead of just talking about it, they need to get in there and actually do something. And if they can't manage that, they need to step aside and let someone else in who's going to get in there and get the job done. I mean, we've been waiting years. This has been going on since 2013. It's getting worse every year. If this was a for-profit company, we would have been bankrupt years ago.
Yeah, can you give me something specific, though, that as a Border Patrol counsel, you would really like to see them take action on?
Mandatory detention, mandatory removal. If you're going to cross between the ports of entry, then you're no longer eligible for asylum. You're breaking the law by doing that. So if you come in at the designated port of entry and claim asylum, that's one way, but you can't do it the other way. You can't break the law and then ask to be protected at the same time.
All right, and you should hold them to it. A lot less discussion and a lot more action in 2023, hopefully, on the border. Chris Cabrera, National Border Patrol Counsel, thank you very much for being here, sir.
Thank you.
No crooked establishment.
None of that
Twisting the truth.
No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax.
Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think.
They let
me decide.
Newsmax.
real news
For real people.